Welcome back to Klepper's Corner, Today in History. And today we're diving into February 21st, apparently the date in the calendar where history woke up, drank 6 espressos, and said, let's do everything. If you ever wanted a date where revolutions start, languages are born, empires fall, manifestos drop, cameras click, and superpowers try to outmaneuver each other like they're on a geopolitical Tinder date, this is your day. So buckle up. February 21st isn't a date. It's a franchise. Segment 1, dynasties, invasions, and the eternal human hobby of redrawing borders. You know your country has had a rough century when your big solution is, let's elect a terrified 16-year-old and hope for the best. That was Russia in 1613. The Zemsky Sobor, basically a medieval HR committee, looks around at all the candidates and says, let's pick the kid who literally didn't want the job. And boom, Mikhail Romanov becomes czar. Russia stabilizes and a dynasty is born. It's the original, congratulations, you played yourself. But it works out for 300 years. Then we jump to 1797, when France tried to invade Britain through Wales. Because nothing says we've planned this well like dropping a small army into a place famous for sheep, cliffs, and people who can defeat you armed only with traditional hats. The French soldiers start looting, get scared by Welsh women in red shawls, and surrender to a militia that probably still had lunch in their pockets. It's the only invasion of mainland Britain since 1066, and it ends because the invaders basically said, we're good, actually. And if that's not enough Nordic chaos, Russia wakes up on February 21st, 1808, and decides to invade Finland without declaring war. Sweden loses half its territory, Finland becomes a grand duchy, and Finnish nationalism gets accidentally invented. That's right, Finland was basically created by Russia saying, what are they going to do, feel independent? Yes, they did. This whole segment is a reminder that Europe has spent centuries playing Risk on expert mode, except everyone keeps knocking the board over. Segment 2, revolutionary texts, indigenous resistance, and the power of literacy. If February 21st has a theme, it's let's publish something dangerous. In 1828, the Cherokee Nation launches the Cherokee Phoenix, the first Native American newspaper. Thanks to Sequoia's syllabary, created by a guy who literally taught himself writing from scratch, the Cherokee Nation becomes more literate than half of Georgia, which, frankly, may still be true. The Phoenix becomes the backbone of resistance against removal. And of course, because America loves a sequel, Georgia responds by outlawing missionaries, arresting people who can read, and stealing the printing press. It's the 1830s version of deplatforming, but with fewer terms of service and more armed men. Fast forward to 1848. Marx and Engels drop the Communist Manifesto. Europe is on fire. Workers are marching, and 2 guys in London release a pamphlet so spicy that governments spend decades pretending it doesn't exist. It's the only political document that started as a flop, got rediscovered during a trial, and then became required reading for anyone who's ever said the phrase, late-stage capitalism. This segment is brought to you by literacy, the only weapon governments have never been able to fully ban, no matter how hard they try. Segment 3, technology, medicine, and the human desire to make things work faster and break more dramatically. Let's talk February 21st as the tech innovation meets oops, that plane is on fire date. In 1804, the first steam locomotive rolls through Wales. It's loud, it's clunky, it probably violated every OSHA regulation that didn't exist yet, and it marks the birth of the railway age. From here on out, the world shrinks, travel speeds up, and humans gain a brand new way to move coal, armies, and regret. Then there's 1824's sewing machine patent, the invention that says, what if clothes didn't require suffering? By 1878, we even get the first telephone directory. It contains 50 names and 0 numbers, because the phone system is so new, you only have to ask for Jim. Imagine that today. Hey Siri, call Mark. Which one? All 3 billion of them? But the emotional high and low of this date belong to science. Sir Frederick Banting, one of the co-discoverers of insulin, survives a plane crash only to die the next day from internal injuries. The man who saved millions of diabetics is lost because an engine failed. It's tragic, ironic, and a reminder that the universe sometimes has the sense of humor of a tax auditor. And then, in 1947, Edwin Land demonstrates the first instant camera. People lose their minds because they no longer have to wait for a darkroom. It is the birth of the selfie, the influencer, and every vacation photo your aunt has ever forced you to look at. Polaroid walked so Instagram could sprint directly into your dopamine receptors. Science giveth, science taketh away, and science absolutely demandeth that you read the manual. Segment 4. War, language, civil rights, and the year history decided it needed new trauma. February 21st is also where human conflict goes, let's make this unforgettable in the worst possible way. First up, Verdun, the 1916 battle where Germany tries to bleed France white, which is a perfectly normal thing to say if you're a Bond villain. It lasts 302 days. 250,000 die. Forts get taken, retaken, blown apart, rebuilt, and argued about by historians forever. It is the Industrial Revolution plus nationalism plus mud. Verdun remains the world's worst example of, well, this seemed like a good idea at the time. Then there's 1952 in Dhaka, where students demanding the right to speak Bengali are literally shot for wanting their mother tongue recognized. Their deaths ignite a movement that leads to Bangladesh's independence and eventually to International Mother Language Day. It's one of the rare moments in history where global institutions go, yeah, actually, language rights matter, probably because they read the comments section on the internet. And of course, 1965. Malcolm X is assassinated. A man evolving faster than America could handle, moving from separatism to global human rights, is silenced. And ironically, his death amplifies everything he stood for. His ideas seed the Black Power movement, influence civil rights leaders for generations, and give modern history professors a semester's worth of content. This segment is your reminder that governments fear three things: free language, free people, and anyone capable of changing their mind in public. Segment 5. Geopolitics, Cold War chess moves, revolutions, and the sequel nobody wanted. 1972. Nixon goes to China. It's the diplomatic equivalent of watching your dad, who has spent decades yelling about communism, suddenly show up at Mao's house with a casserole. The entire Cold War shifts. The Soviets freak out. China gets global recognition, and Nixon gets a foreign policy win so big that people still use the phrase Nixon in China to describe an unexpected political pivot. It's the original plot twist. Then, February 21st, 2014. Ukraine's president, having lost control of his government, his police, his people, and possibly his GPS, flees Kyiv. It is the moment Ukraine pivots west. The EU realizes it's in a relationship now, and Russia realizes it's about to have feelings of abandonment. Which brings us to February 21st, 2022, when Russia recognizes breakaway regions, gives a speech full of historical fan fiction, and sets in motion the largest land war in Europe since 1945. 3 days later, the invasion begins. One February 21st brings democratic revolution. Another brings imperial revanchism. It's like poetry, if poetry were written with tanks. This segment is the geopolitical reminder that history might not repeat, but it absolutely enjoys rhyming in emotionally damaging ways. In conclusion, February 21st is the Swiss Army knife of historical dates. It slices, it dices, it overthrows governments, it launches manifestos, it creates cameras, it ends empires, and at least once, it scared a French army into surrendering because of Welsh fashion choices. If you ever feel unproductive, just remember, February 21st looked at the rest of the calendar and said, "Hold my beer."